Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the FitFam podcast. This is Miss Natural Olympia Hilary.
And this guy right here is the formulator.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Feeling good?
I think it's the day. Happy Halloween. That's the day.
That's
So I
Halloween.
think
You're not watching this on Halloween, but we're filming it on
today
Halloween.
is Halloween. Yeah.
In
So
peak week.
and second to last peak week. That's probably more
It's exciting.
that's probably more of a feeling, not so much Halloween, but the excitement of
10 days
a
left.
job well done and a celebration afterwards.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And so, as always, click the like button and the bell so that you get notified when we have new podcasts.
yeah,
Love to hear your feedback for sure. We love it when people give feedback and just their thoughts and some of the research and information. So please do that. We love that.
for sure. And this is a very important podcast today. This one you're going to want to put at the very top
Of importance.
of things that are very important in your life. No,
Yeah.
this one's a kind of a cool.
Kind of agree.
Yeah, well, great. We'll get comments about that one. But actually, this one was Doug's idea, and I really love it because we're talking about muscle. So, of course, I love that. But today we're going to focus on the glutes, the booty, that peach right behind us. And I love that because I think, especially when we're talking to most women, when they are trying to develop their body the way that they want it, the glutes always are a subject, always. And it doesn't matter the age.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, it's always a subject. And the thing is, there's two parts to that. One is the aesthetic factor with
Right.
the glutes, and the other is a performance factor, and not just performance in sport, but performance in life. That it's actually critical to keep the lumbar curve in place,
Okay.
right, and be able to help. A lot of times, back pain, and that comes from right? Weak abdominals, tight hamstrings, and the glute muscles not just holding their own. So
Okay.
there's a lot to it, a lot more than just the aesthetic value to it. It's
Yeah.
actually, very important for the anatomy and
I
just
love
to
that.
being anatomically correct.
And I'm going to be honest, I feel like nowadays for most women, a large developed glute is the look that they're going for. Where in the past, I feel like sometimes it was a slimmer, flatter look, to be honest. Like I honestly feel that way. Like back in, I was very young in the 80s. How old were you in the 80s?
I was rolling, baby. And
But I
so,
feel like it wasn't such a big
no, it wasn't.
conversation.
It wasn't a big conversation because what was really big in that time frame, right, was aerobics.
Yes.
And truly, people that just did aerobics had that long glute, and
Right.
it was like the heck. And that's why there's like for me, I didn't like that look at all. So I was a big fan of Corey Everson and Rachel
Mhm.
McLeish and all them because they had actually developed the difference between the glute and the hamstring. And a lot of times you couldn't tell the difference with the people back in the 80s. It was just like one big muscle.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it kind of seems like as I look back at pictures and those times. And I also feel like, and I this could be a totally different perspective, but I do feel like women nowadays, especially younger women, are not afraid to eat for their goals like it used to be. Everybody would constantly be like calorie restriction, I feel like back in the day.
Yeah.
And so I knew, as I was growing up, it wasn't unheard of for people to be on 1,000 calorie diet, which is just crazy to me now. But anyway, so
Me
I
too.
love that this is going to be a conversation. So let's talk about
Booty.
the booty, and first of all, let's go into the shape based on your body type.
Absolutely. And so understanding that we're talking about three muscles, right? With the gluteus, that's the muscle groups.
Hmm.
Eh, Go ahead.
So we've got the gluteus maximus.
That's the biggest.
That's the big guy. The gluteus medius,
Mhm.
and then the gluteus. Did you say
Minimus.
minimus?
Minimus. The gluteus minimus. And the reason it's important to mention all three is that what creates the shape. And if all three are strong and to their genetic potential, then the glutes should actually kind of look like a bowling ball, to tell the
Hmm.
truth. It should be round because of the three. And Yeah, I think that important to know too is the gluteus maximus. In fact, there was that argument, and so we actually just had to go look up details on it. The
Yeah,
gluteus
which
maximus is the largest muscle in the body.
okay, yeah, we had a discussion where I was saying no, it's the quads.
Quads, or some people say the lats.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
absolutely. So that should tell us something right there because remember, muscle burns calories. Muscle creates mitochondria. Refer back to other podcasts, the chemicals in the body that help you stay motivated and excited about life and helps with immunity. And you're like, well, if the largest muscle in the body is this gluteus max, that's the one that we actually should focus on the most because it's going to give us the most calorie burn. It's going to give us the most chemicals for being happy and for immunity and
yeah,
everything else. It makes sense versus a lot of people, it's a chest, I'm bench press, I want to push up every
a
day.
lot of people, or I
And
think he
so,
meant a lot of men. Actually, I actually love that we're discussing this too because I think it's a great area for a lot of men to start focusing on.
oh, absolutely.
Because I think you're right. I think, I was just joking with Dylan, my son-in-law, yesterday in the gym, and he's like, "It's supposed to be leg day, but Doug's not here, and Weston's coming over, and we need a mental health day, so we're gonna do back and biceps." And it's so funny to me how many times even men, especially men sometimes, will try to skip leg day,
Or they don't feel they need to work the
or they
glute,
don't feel the need to work the glutes.
right?
That's
So there's
valid.
leg extensions and stuff.
Yeah.
So let's back up. So let's go through fitness.
Well, before we go through fitness, well, we can do that, but we were going to discuss the three different body types.
Yeah, that we'll get to that.
Okay, you
We'll
got
get
it.
that. But
Let's do it.
so
Let's do it your
basically,
way, Doug.
okay. Well, how about we do that a part of FIT?
Perfect. Oh,
Compromise. You like that? Watch.
okay.
All right. So basically, we're going to use the acronym of fitness. For those of you that are new, each letter stands for a different part of your program to make sure you stay holistic. So FIT, focused, intense thought. And part of that's what we've already done. It's giving you the education. It's the largest muscle in the body. We know now more than we have in history that muscle does more than just provide strength, right? It provides
Yeah.
all those benefits. So you need to make that shift. Okay, I need to focus on the glute muscles because they're the ones that are going to give me the most benefit overall for the work I give. In other words, if I work the bicep, right, that
Great point.
muscle's not that big, so it's only going to give me so much benefit of the mitochondria, the fat burning, everything else. Well, in that same amount of time, I could be working a large muscle group that's going to give me a lot more benefit, right?
Yeah, that's great point. And then I like also, speaking of focused intense thought, let's wrap that into as well as the mind muscle connection, because that body part, it sometimes can be tricky focusing on the glutes doing the work in a workout. So really making that mind muscle connection with the glutes is really important when training.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, when you're doing a specific exercise, really focusing on the glutes pushing through and doing the work and not allowing other muscles that come into play when you're doing like squats or lunges. Really focused on the glutes doing the push.
Good job. That's a great job. And that's something that's why trainers are great many times to help with that
For
focus.
sure.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about each exercise. I think it'd be good to help people understand that. And so with the focus intense thought, part of that is again the education, learning that it's the largest muscle in the body, but also the education on what to expect based on your body type.
Right.
Right?
So here we're going to go through the three different body types. We've done it in previous podcasts, but based on the glutes. So the three different body types: ectomorph.
Me. Super lean, skinny. As you get older, if you don't watch it, they get the tummy, but they're so small type
Right.
thing. And small boned, but if they train right and they can build their muscle. But as far as the booty, with the ectomorphs, men and women, they're the ones that lose their booty.
Right. So, and it's just true. Sorry. So, I love you. Okay. So, it's really important for ectomorphs. It's really important for an ectomorph to lift heavy when they are trying to build those glutes, right?
Heavy.
Okay. So we have the ectomorph.
Yeah, and an ectomorph, all jokes aside, um, need to probably work the glutes more than the other body types
Mm,
because it's easier for that muscle group to atrophy as you age more than any other body type. So
Perfect. Yeah.
that's really important to understand. So the next one's called a mesomorph.
Okay, so your mesomorph is the more of the hourglass shape. Still decently small bones. Usually you're going to hit right at um, middle finger to thumb,
Mhm.
and you just have more of an hourglass. So you have broad shoulders, a waist that goes in, and then hips that kind of match shoulders. You would think of like in high school the girls that got a lot of attention that were very shapely, or the men that had, the broad shoulders, like the quarterback
Mhm,
look.
mhm.
So that's kind of the mesomorph. Mesomorphs put on muscle really easily. So that's one of the benefits of being a mesomorph. Sometimes a detriment of being a mesomorph is that you also put on fat really easily.
Much easier.
So with a mesomorph, when they're trying to train and training glutes, they can do more of a balanced training when it comes to glutes.
Yeah. So they're going to do some heavy, but some more full range of motion and a little bit lighter. So they're going to be more right in that middle there, where they're just training. And as we talk about the exercises, that's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Then the endomorphs.
And then you have endomorphs. So endomorphs have a little bit more narrow shoulders and then wider hips and glutes.
Like a
So
pear.
more of a pear shape. When you're an endomorph, now this is a preference. If you're trying to create more of a balanced look as a pear shape, then you wouldn't go as heavy when you're working your glutes and legs. You would do more reps than high weight.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And actually, because it's about how the look too is you want to get the glutes strong, and they're usually strong because endomorphs are strong. And believe it or not, you actually want to focus more on the other muscle groups as far as lifting, like shoulders and that actually will make the glutes look better, and just keep a constant tension on the glutes. You
Constant
want
tension.
constant tension versus heavy weights when it comes to endomorphs, and the eating that we'll get into is going to be a big factor there. So that's
Okay.
kind of the focused, intense thought. The N of nutrition.
The N is nutrition. So when we're talking about nutrition for building your glutes, so this is kind of interesting what Doug and I came up with. My thought on nutrition is making sure when you are going into the gym to do lower body days that you are sufficiently um, fed,
Mhm.
that you have the right nutrients to support the weight that you're going to lift.
Because you're working the largest muscle in the body, then you got to make sure that you have the energy to do it. And so, having a pre-workout meal is important. And again, it can be something as simple as, depending on your eating plan, a shake, a pretty good protein shake with a banana or something in it, or things
Right. I
like
think
that.
I think sometimes what gets missed in translation is having a balanced meal
Mhm.
before training, something like that. So you're looking for protein and carbs
Yep,
before that.
absolutely. And so, besides the pre-workout meal, what does nutrition look like when you're trying to focus on the booty? It comes down to the two factors that are most important in about every program, and that is the calories for your goal, and then also the cleanliness of those calories. So, getting away from the processed foods and that which we know now is 100 times more important than it was decades ago because of how bad the foods are. And so basically, if you take your body weight and times it by 10, if you need to lose weight or to be able to have the glutes, be shown more, see what muscle you have there, then that's a great number. Your body weight times 12, if you're at about the right body weight you feel, and body fat percentage, but you just need to focus on the glutes. And that's a good rule of thumb. And there's a lot more to it than that, but it's
For
just for the
sure.
general public. That's a good way to look at it. And again, get your calories where they need to be and make sure that they're clean.
Yeah, and
Something
I
like,
would say there's a lot of deviation when it comes to the caloric intake there. I would say that's not gospel according to everyone, especially with somebody that has a high cardiovascular
mhm.
routine. But yeah, it's a great place to start for sure. And then I was going to say something and it slipped my mind. Just the saddest thing ever. Oh, I got it. So, also, what's really important is making sure that the protein that you're consuming is being utilized for the growth that you're trying to create. So, making sure that you're getting proper proteins, but also that your protein is getting broken down. So, always taking in your digestive enzymes.
Super critical. In fact, I just met yesterday with the World's Leading Authority in enzymology and enzymes, and we were talking just about that. And there was some youngsters there that we were talking to, and it was funny because it was like, wait, you're telling me that I can have 50 grams of a piece of chicken, I could say chicken breast, like 50 grams of it, and this person can have 50 grams of a chicken breast. But if this person took enzymes with it, they have 3 times the amount of growth potential, amino acids in the bloodstream from the same food. And yeah, that was it. And there was a lady there. She's like, wait, that means I can take in less calories and get more benefit
Yes.
just by digesting my food. And I'm like, bingo, like that's the key, is that you're able to take in less overall calories and get more benefit for muscle building, for health, for energy if
Because
you digest your food.
it's all about utilizing the protein that you're consuming, not consuming more protein. So yeah, I love that point.
Digest a meal with your food.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next really important part of fitness when we're talking about glutes is exercise. And something that I want to throw in too, as we age, sometimes gravity sets in. And it can be tricky to, if you've
Tricky.
never built your glutes. Now, if you've built your glutes in the past, muscle memory is a beautiful thing.
It's a big thing.
And we'll talk about muscle memory. But if your glutes are not something that you've developed in the past, I think one of the main things that as a woman I could mention, and even maybe as a male, is patience. As you're trying to build or sculpt your glutes, patience is going to be key.
Consistency for sure. And so let's talk about the specific exercises when it comes to glutes. And it's funny because every year at IRSA, it's a national convention for trainers, but they with the latest machines and stuff like that, right?
Okay.
And at that convention for years, every year it was a going joke with me and Robin Pound and Bill Ferran from the Heat and stuff. We'd go like, okay, let's see what the latest glute exercise is machine. And someone would be there and say, this is it. The reason that you're not building the glutes and sport and life and women and that were wanting better glutes is because you didn't have this machine, and that's always, always, always the running joke. And there's been some new developments in the last few years,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
still my hardcore research backs it up. Proof is that there are certain exercises that build the glutes that will never go away. And if you incorporate them in your program, along with some of the fun stuff, right, you're guaranteed to have that base and where the glutes will be strong and shapely, just like you want, especially for your body type. And we have history of that because before any of the new machines and all the crazy stuff was out there, you had some great people. And we'd like to look to women because they're the ones, like you said, because so we talked about gravity. It's a hormonal factor. As testosterone starts to lower in women and estrogen goes up, then estrogen affects the muscle and it allows it to sag more than in men because they don't have that drop as much, right? And so for women, you get that hormonal sag, which comes back to the nutrition again, because the better your nutrition, the more your hormones are in balance, the healthy fats in your diet, and we'll talk about supplements there. So with women back in the day, even like in the 80s and early 90s, the difference between the call flat butt, right, versus the round glutes and that were the women that did one of three things, and usually all three, right? Squat, lunge, and sprint. And sprinters were the key. And if you look in Olympics, I knew when I met Hilary, she had been a sprinter, didn't know any history in that. You can just tell from the body, from the quad, the hamstrings, and the glutes, because the sprinting action itself, the explosiveness, is what develops a lot of that shape in the glutes.
Okay, I love that. So
What's
when
your
you're
favorite?
glute exercise, my favorite glute exercise that I like to do,
No,
favorite glute exercise
you know
that's
it's good
really
for you.
good for it. So honestly, lunges are a huge benefit, I feel like. Yeah, lunges. And then once we got our belt squat, because I used to love to squat as I got older, it was harder on my back. But once we got our belt squat, and I would say last year was the best glute growth for us, for me,
You?
for us.
Yeah, for me
Yeah,
too.
and it was due to wow. I hope they can edit that part. Anyways,
Because I
once
lifted too.
yeah, okay.
Where were you going?
I hope that's what you had. Okay. So the belt squat, I feel like, was such a game changer for us because what it allowed is it allowed us to load with plates. So load a lot of weight on there, keep the pressure off the back, of
'Cause you
course,
had a belt,
because
but
we
the
had the
weightlifting
belt.
belt it.
And then not only that, but it allowed us to go just under parallel,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so that helped to create what we were looking for.
And what Hillary's talking about is under parallels. When you do your exercises for the glutes, the key is to get the stretch. In other words, a squat, you want to go not just parallel, you want to go below that. Lunges, you want to go low as you can. And that's really key. The more we can stretch the gluteus maximus, then the more it will develop as far as the right shape
And
and strength.
I think I like to think of it as a drive. It when you're doing that, it's more like driving it back up
Yeah.
and just falling just under parallel makes your glutes have to engage and drive back up. So
Absolutely. So we're talking about squat, whether you're doing it with a bar squat or like we love as we get a little bit older, doing the
belt
belt
squat.
squat.
There's so many different squats. I mean, let's talk about all the different squats that you can do. You can do your Bulgarian split squat.
What's that?
Uh, that's where you've got one leg up on a
A
bench
bench.
behind you and you're squatting down, doing one leg at a time. Great activation with that one.
Some people call that their favorite.
Yeah, a sumo squat.
Mhm.
You've
Legs are really
got,
far out. You're like hold a weight in the middle, and you're
mhm,
squatting, so your legs are sumo style.
yeah, you've got your belt squat. You've got normal back squat,
Front
front
squat.
squat. I mean, there's just so many options when we're talking about squat.
So just squat. One way or another, just squat. That's one exercise, although there's different variations of it. The Bulgarian with the one leg thing is truly when you talk to a lot of pros, they'll say that's their favorite many times that is. And so we got the squats. Bulgarian
Lunges.
squat, I'd kind of keep that as its own because it's one-legged. Lunges, which is my all-time favorite and
Mhm.
working
We
training
do love
people for
lunges.
decades. I think that's the biggest game changer because you're not only getting that below parallel if you do a lunge right, but you're also getting the stretch. And if it's heavy enough, you have to kind of explode to get, going. You don't want to go fast, but you still have that little bit of explosion. And so it creates glute development, in my opinion, better than, and it's my favorite one for sure to have in the program.
And then, of course, what's been kind of like the big thing as of late is hip thrusts,
Mm,
right?
absolutely.
That's more of a newer.
It is kind of newer. Brett Contreras and a few of them, really developed that technique, and we actually have a machine for that.
Mhm.
But people don't have to have a machine. They can do a bar with a pad on their waist and their hips on a bench and their feet on the ground, and then you're going up and down with your waist, getting glutes close to the ground, then going up as high as you can. And the machines obviously are safer, but that's a great exercise. And I now call that an accessory exercise to
Okay.
squats and lunges and that, but it does help isolate a lot better.
Yeah, so isolation is really important. And I would like to point out that I feel like if at the beginning of a glute exercise, if you can really do some engaging exercises, and the best way to do that is just with a band, put that around your knees, right above the knees, and then do what are those even called? Just as you go across their like a side lunge
Yep.
almost,
Mhm.
and then monster walks and that kind of thing. The more that you can engage without weight, your glutes before you actually start your exercise, the better they're going to perform.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great way. We should have started with that. It's warming up. Remember, people talk about warming up a lot and like, oh, it's just what you do as you get older and that. No, the thing is that digestion is so important in the body that the body keeps a majority of the blood in the gut area because if you don't digest your food, you die. And so it sets mainly there. And what we're doing by warming up is we're saying, hey, body, we're going to start using these different muscles throughout the body. So let's transfer that blood and even it out to the muscles so that when you are working them, you don't tear something that, if there's no blood flow there, it's easier to tear a muscle, pull a muscle. And so we're warming up. And when you're warming up for the glutes, it's one for blood flow, but two, like Hillary was saying, is it's for activation. It wakes them up. It activates them so that when you go to do the other exercises, it's easier to get that mind muscle connection you're talking about. So let's go through them a little bit. Lunges, hip thrusts, squats. We talked about isolating with hip thrust, but also isolating
Kickbacks.
with kickbacks where so it's a movement where only one joint moves, right?
Right.
Where you put a band of that around your ankle or strap, and you stand there and you do the kickbacks where the only joints that joint, the hip that's moving. That's a great way to go about it too. And then, like I mentioned, explosive movements. And I think as we get older, people quit doing those, and it should be the opposite.
Right.
You should do more explosive movements as you get older. In fact, there's a new study out on bone density showing that the men and women that continue explosive movements as they get older have almost a 70% less chance of bone fracture.
Wow.
And
Really
only
cool.
because they continue to sprint,
Mm-hmm.
right? That they continue to jump. And everyone can do that. You can sprint at whatever level you can go and then work to improve that. And everyone can jump a little bit, so the little box, and then keep working your way up. But if you incorporate sprinting and jumping, we call them plyometrics, into your program, along with those exercises we mentioned, you're and consistency, you're going to develop those glutes and get all that benefit. And then we're to SS.
So supplementation.
Yeah.
So as we talk about, what's most important when we are working the glutes and what nutrients they need, I think at the top of the list is something like Muscle RX.
Right. Muscle RX is the name of the product, but basically a product that contains creatine, glutamine, branched chain amino acids, magnesium, chromium. Those are the main nutrients that the muscles use to be able to have the power to engage like creatine, but also recuperate like glutamine to be able to grow stronger. And so I think that those are real critical. And I think it would be remiss to not go also, especially with the women, but it's true with men too. Remember the estrogen talk about the glutes
Mm-hmm.
sagging. I'm a big fan of, doing something like DIMM. We have a product called NADH plus DM, but DM is derived from vegetables that is an estrogen balancer. Some people call it estrogen blocker, but it actually lowers estrogen, which then makes it easier to build the muscle
Mm.
in the body. So I think that muscle RX, glutamines, creatines, those branched chain amino acids, and something with DIMM in it are probably the two main groups of nutrients for the SS of fitness specific supplementation.
Perfect.
Boom, there you got it. Love to
Love it.
see and hear about your glute progress. And if you want, DM us, and we can maybe put something together for you as far as
Like a
a
glute workout.
glute workout. Will you do that?
I love that idea.
Okay, so do that. DM us. You'll get Hilary's glute workout, and we'll love to share that with you. And to remember that, as we get into these specifics. Like I love that we went into one body part area in
Me
that.
too.
And I hope that those of you that follow and listen to the FitFam podcast, you say, man, a lot of the things that they teach about every day for longevity and health and immunity are the same. It's just now we have these little additional exercises and things we do for the glutes. You're absolutely right. If you're living the lifestyle, then when you're wanting to have fun and grow a certain area or work or improve an area, whether it's, it's for speed, for fun, for energy, for strength or body part, it's easier to do because you only need to make a few tweaks versus this entire
I like
program.
that. Yeah,
So
love it.
as always, this is Miss Natural Olympia Hillary.
And this is Doug, the formulator.
Keep chewing.
Thanks for coming.